major donors are giving a lot of money right now. That there's a particular time we're in that is very, what's the word, propitious or optimistic for major gift fundraising. And here are a couple of things that are happening. The stock market in the US is very high. Donors have paper profits. Their stock portfolios have been increasing. I made my very first gift of appreciated stock this year I felt like such a grown-up, I made a gift of appreciated stock. And then I got this tax deduction too, on top of the stock that I was giving away to my favorite charity. So know that your donors are feeling wealthier because they're feeling abundant. Now, there are some people who've been really affected by the pandemic, and those people we want to love, we want to take care of, we want to bless and release. We are certainly not going to approach them. And one of the jobs of major gift fundraising is doing discovery, like who is interested in talking right now and who is not. So you want to always be asking your donors, would they like to chat with you about your organization? So we believe in asking for permission. So the other thing about the environment that is really important to understand is that there's so much in the news about the status of people who have been affected by the pandemic. And so donors have been reading this news, hearing this news, seeing this news in images for over almost a year now. And I want to say that it's not just safety net organizations that are receiving largesse from major donors. We are seeing environmental organizations out of the blue, or other types of organizations that are not affected at all. We're working with a capital campaign with the Habitat for Humanity, for example, and they're receiving $10,000 gifts on their website during the pandemic. So donors are primed to want to help. So know that donors' hearts are primed and their wallets are feeling flush. So you've got these two factors happening that should give you confidence to at least ask donors how they're doing and if they'd like to know more about your work or if they'd like to discuss helping.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I agree that the environment's ripe. We've seen that here at Virtuous. Like, we get to see all the gifts coming in across our customers, and it's incredible to see how generosity is abundant now more than ever. And I think that makes sense. The time to step up is now, because we're in an unprecedented time. There are a few questions here, and I think they're related.
I've got my chat box open. I would love to answer the question about why are we using terms like major donors. That came from Terry. Way to go, Terry.
Let's dig in. Yeah, Terry, for those that don't see the chat, just so that they know, Terry said, why are we still using the terms like major donors? Many have the potential to be that who aren't yet. Donors move up and down the ladder. Donors doesn't treat them all well, make the most sense. What's your thoughts here, Gail?
Well, first of all, Terry, you're very smart, because this is what I totally agree with you, that you have major donor prospects at all parts of your giving profile. My partner, Catherine Gamble, and I just did a Facebook Live yesterday talking about, is the donor pyramid really your best friend? Because, lots of times we think of one way to look at a donor pyramid, all the small donors are at the bottom, the mid-level donors are in the middle, and the major donors are at the top. But you've got major donor prospects who are small donors. And the problem is you are treating them like small donors. I got the crappiest thank you letters from some organizations that should know better. My number one blog topic on our site at gailperry.com is how to write a killer thank you letter, because people need that really badly. So you need to treat all of your donors like they're major prospects, and then they're going to respond by giving you more, and then you have something to work with. What makes the thank you letter crappy?
Yeah, we have another thing. Yeah, if you want to dig in on this, you use the word crappy, which was, the classic term. Yeah.
Well, this thank you letter opened with, Gail, you were kind enough to make a gift on December 6th, 2020, and we want to thank you for it. Well, I received the letter on February 1st. So, that's like, you have got to be kidding me. This is really crappy. And then the sentences in the letter really didn't make sense. And so it went on and on about how great they were, and not much about how lovely I was to support them. And the last thing is that it was signed by the lowly development coordinator, who is a wonderful person, but she or he should not be signing thank you letters. It should come from the CEO or the board chair to make the donor feel very special, that somebody and great and high level of authority. I'm not ditching the people who make it all work, but I'm saying in terms of your PR relationships with your donors.
Absolutely.
And that's just a start on thank you letters.
Well, yeah, and I feel like we could talk about thank you letters for a long time. So Megan, that's probably a good thing to index.
We might have to do another one. And somebody says it could have been the post office. It could have, but I don't know.
What was the date on the letter?
The date of the letter was January the 20th, and I received it February the 1st.
There you go. Yeah.
And I wouldn't refer to the date that the donor gave, like December 6th, and otherwise I wouldn't have remembered.
Yeah.
So they were really shooting themselves in the foot, I think.
Yeah, it is really tough. But I do think it brings up a valid point that like the start of a relationship with any donor starts at the beginning.
Yeah.
In that one thank you letter, like you could be a major donor prospect. You could have given $25, $100, $500. And the minute you have that first interaction, from the thank you experience to getting the thank you letter, is so important. And that's the start of doing major gifts well, is to start well.
A lot of people are writing in the chat box about the post office screwing them up. And yes, but you can write another charming note to your donor saying, gosh, I know you gave it and we just received it. And there's a way to be charming about all this and friendly. So we want to always have that tone with our donors. And yes, y'all are all right in the chat box about the messing up of the post office. Bless their hearts, as we say in the South.
The one other question that did come in earlier, Gail, that I want to research is someone's asking, like, how do you bridge the gap with a conversation with a major donor prospect? But even before that, how do you identify who you should be talking to or reaching out to?
Yeah, I was just talking to Noah before we started. I said, everybody needs structure, because you got to have a list to work from, and you've got to have a small enough list that makes sense. Like people have major donor portfolios that they work. So first of all, you got to narrow down your focus to a number of people that you can really do discovery work on. And was your question, how do you figure out who to focus on, Noah?
So that's kind of the first step. I think the second follow-up would be now, then what? But first, let's focus on like, how do you find who you should reach out to? How should organizations be thinking about this?
Well, we believe in data analysis. I mean, the new world of data is quite wonderful right now. And we have a account with Donor Search that we like. And we whenever we go in to do a capital campaign, we will run a RFM analysis, the recency, frequency, and monetary analysis. And one of the things, you might think this is a technical report, but you know what it does? It identifies your most passionate donors by what they're doing with their money. Like who gives the most, who gives most frequently, who's given most recently. These are indicators of your donors' behavior and how they feel about your cause in terms of being responsive with their money. So if you can take that and you can run it against a wealth screening, like for example, Donor Search or something, then you have we can read the tea leaves in the report and we can tell you just where your opportunities are. So there are all sorts of ways to do deeper analysis on your donor file. You don't have to do data screening. You can just do your RFM analysis or other types of analyses, but you've got to narrow your focus so you can do classic discovery, as some of y'all are talking about. And then if you're in the discovery process, you want is the donor willing to engage with you?
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of donors are not. And so we bless and release them. We bless and release them, and that's fine. You may have we have a client in a capital campaign, you'll love this, Noah, who every time they send out an appeal, there's this one donor that sends in $20,000, but the donor will not take a call from the CEO, will not engage. And so we've scratched our head and we were worried about beating our head against the wall again, with this wonderful donor. And we decided to send them a campaign package and say, would you like to chat about it? Would you like to think about a campaign gift? And we're sending naming opportunities to this person. So, you really have to be strategic and thoughtful and narrow down your focus and be ready to meet donors where they are, And somebody wants to know where I'm from. I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You can tell the Southern accent. And we believe that major gift fundraising can be polite and friendly, like all of us are in the South, and oblique, like we are in the South. And I have raised millions of dollars with the friendly approach.
Gail, some people are asking, obviously, we're in unique times where maybe you can't go meet face to face with all your donors, and the kind of the process you might run in 2019 is different than the process you have to run now. And so any guidance there for major gift officers that are trying to leverage things like Zoom and digital connection to kind of do discovery, do donor connections, and yeah, how do you operate in this new world?
Well, we think that in this new world, all the fluff in major gift fundraising has been stripped away. We can't have the cocktail parties or the cruises or the porch parties, which I do so love so much. We should have a webinar or a conversation on porch parties. How about that, Noah? Once.
How about let's have a porch party?
let's have a virtual porch party.
Socially distance, like or a virtual porch party. We could all bring our like tea and like our mason jars and
a drink of choice.
Yeah.
But I have a whole series of trainings on how to do a porch party, but that's another topic. And for donors, but there's a fundraising. But when you're doing discovery, we don't have the committees, the board meetings, the galas. You can't schmooze your donor like you used to. So guess what, everybody? We have to learn how to have direct conversations with our donors. And and if I may, I'm going to lay out what the steps are in a direct conversation with donors. Okay.
That'd be great.
First thing you want to find out, first of all, you want to find out their donor story. Why did they give to your organization? And I'll tell you something, everybody's got a donor story. And, but you don't say, may I hear your donor story? You got to be more gracious about it than just, bleh. But I just want to tell a story. I was a would-be ballet dancer years ago, and I have been involved with so many dance companies as a board member, usually on the board or volunteer. Once I helped incorporate a dance company once, and nobody has ever asked me why I care about dance, ever. And if they would ask me, I had this floodgate of like being a young girl and being this beautiful and spiritual, like all these emotional things would come out. Nobody's asked. And if they really asked, they would find out I like modern dance more than the toe shoes and tutus. And they would engage me around the area of my interest. So it's so easy to ask your donor, how did you come to choose our organization to give to? Or how did you come to be a donor to us? I'd love to know. So again, very friendly, and that's a discovery question. To hear your donor story, and then you can find out what they're most interested in, and you can say what resonates with you most about our work. Again, donors got a lot to say. Oh, you like modern dance. Oh, did you know that the New York City choreographer is coming down to set a dance on? Would you like to meet her? Oh, the donor's falling out of her chair. Or if you're a land trust, maybe that the donor likes frogs and swamps. And would you like to go out into the swamp? And it's a beautiful place. I love swamps, by the way. I'm talking about my favorite things. Or I'm on the board of the botanical garden at UNC Chapel Hill. I'm a real gardener. And so would you like to meet the famous botanist who breeds camellias? Oh, I would just weep to meet this person. Swamps are overrated, says Will.
Underrated. So I think he's
underrated. Underrated. So anyway, what I'm saying is that this is fun for you as the fundraiser. You're making the donor really happy and warm and fuzzy because she's feeling emotions. And remember, giving comes from emotions, right? And so if the donor has a really happy time talking to you about her interests and what she believes in, she's going to take your call again because she knows she gets to do the talking. Remember this, you can write this down. The bigger the VIP, the more they expect to do the talking. You do not have to blather away, my friend. And it's easier. And you don't have to have a presentation. You're doing discovery. I've got a Sherlock Holmes hat somewhere in this office. I usually put it on. But just think of yourself as Sherlock Holmes. So you're learning your donor story and you're finding out what she's interested in. And then you say, would you like to know how you could help? Donor says, yeah. And so you need to have three ideas, right? You could say something small, something medium, and then you could say, and for 100,000, you could do this. And, because it's all very, you're being oblique, is this something you'd like to know about or not? Or if you really think the donor has significant wealth, you would engage them a little bit further on with the executive director, your CEO, maybe the head of the program area that he or she is interested in learning more about. We're seeing a lot of great cultivation happen when you bring your star program directors out to Zoom to chat with donors. It's great cultivation. So these are just some ideas. We have a series of what we call power questions that lead right up to an ask. And can I give them a little commercial, Noah?
Yeah, absolutely. This is your
Okay.
show for the next
Okay. Well,
we only have 10 minutes, but yeah, absolutely. You're
well,
welcome.
you may know that we have a major gift coaching program. We call it the Major Gift Intensive, and it's 5 months of training with assignments, learning how to do this deep discovery work, these deep donor conversations. We're teaching 5 ways to set up and close a major gift ask, 5 different strategies depending on the donor, how to do discovery, how to do the analytics. So we'd love for you to check out our page on our website about major gift coaching and look at our video. We're really, really proud of our video. We invested some money so it has music and all this stuff. But with the program starts March 2nd, we closed applications on February the 24th. And you can find out all the detail on the page. But we'd love, I see a couple of people on here who we've worked with in the past. I want to say hello to John Mercer and other friends and just let you know that we'd love to have you join us. It's a very intensive program. You get private coaching and group coaching calls and assignments. Jesse likes the tips. All right.
We only have 10 more minutes with Gail and with our time this week. We do these calls every Thursday morning. We always have special guests like Gail and others. But we want to turn it over to you all. What questions do you have for Gail? We can probably do a lightning round here. So feel free to drop those questions into the panelists and attendees chat box. One question I think is interesting that I've thought a little bit about is you talked about treating all donors like major donors or major donor opportunities. Mm-hmm. What are some practical ways that you encourage organizations to do that? Because we talk a lot about that here at Virtuous with responsive fundraising. And I'm curious kind of what you're advising your clients to do to that respect.
Yeah, well, I was talking when people are interested in the Major Gifts Intensive, we have a phone call with them to see if it's a good fit. And I was talking to somebody yesterday and she said that they have a thank you phone call that goes out to every single donor within 72 hours.
That's amazing.
Now, and I thought that was just amazing because she has a significant fundraising program. And of course, they turn around their regular thank you letter, their printed thank you letter within 24 hours. And so those are classic standards for engaging donors and making them feel included. So, and also every donor needs to have an impact report. You know, your thank you letter doesn't have to have the impact report. You circle back to your donor and say, with your gift, we were able to accomplish blank, or with your gift, you helped accomplish blank. And so that makes donors feel warm and fuzzy. And so they want to hear from you again.
Someone was asking if that was, I think we're always looking to shortcut some of this stuff. And someone was asking if it was a live thank you call or a recorded thank you call.
It was a live thank you call, everybody. But I want to say years ago, I made a gift to Doctors Without Borders. And I went online and because I really respect that organization. And do you know, after I made the gift, which is very easy, they took me to a thank you page on their website that had a thank you video. And there was this beautiful blonde doctor, female doctor with these little kids running around like clearly in Africa, and little kids running around. And she looks right at the camera. She says, you have no idea the difference you made with your gift today. Thank you so much. And I mean, you talk about a powerful web page. So you can do that. And then I made a year later, or a few years later, I made another gift to Doctors Without Borders. I wanted to see what the video was. They different people were saying thank you in their languages.
Yeah.
So, you can break a donor's heart with your thank you if you're really smart. And then you talk about ready to give again. Everybody forgets that giving is an emotional act. And I get these awful thank you letters that are so dry, like a tax receipt. Like, I was feeling warm and fuzzy when I made that gift, but you're throwing cold water on it now.
Yeah. That came up in a roundtable discussion where they were saying, how do you use even a tax receipt? Like it can be this great, opportunity for you to thank your donors again and express impact and do all of that.
Yeah.
I will say I've actually been a part of creating some of those videos, and we worked with children. We worked with children all around the world at
Really?
the nonprofit I did, and we actually got videos of kids all saying thank you around the world, and we would send that out to our supporters, and it just does wonders. 60-second video that you've put together can make a world of difference.
Such a difference, and we've all learned how to do virtual. I have a backdrop. I have lighting. I have a fancy microphone, and everybody here has sharpened up their virtual skills. And so we're better at doing videos than we were last year by hook or crook.
Yeah, absolutely. There was an example from cure.org. They work with children with disabilities and provide help in impoverished communities. They do that same thing, but they do it even personally, where they'll have, videos that they send out from, personal videos where it's just a quick 30-second video. The person on the ground will film it and then they'll send it off to the donor. So they're even taking it a step further because they've bridged the gap where donation comes in, they send the request every week, the person does a thank you video, and then they distribute it back out via text message or email. Those are things that you can do that, only take a few minutes. You just have to coordinate across the programs and fundraising teams. And for me, if they can do it around the world and connect back to this, like local organizations, community organizations, you can do this as well.
I know. I just think that organizations don't emphasize the post-gift experience like they should. But the smart organizations are all over those donors once they give, because once they're all over the donors, you have an easy in with your donors because they have just given and they want to hear from you.
Megan, any other questions that you're seeing come through?
Somebody is asking, do I recommend multi-year gift requests? And do I recommend naming? Oh, I love naming. But you ask your donor, would you be interested in hearing about our naming opportunities? Another question to ask. And I'm all for multi-year giving, especially if you've got donors, say you've got a giving club at the annual level of maybe 5,000 or 2,500 or 1,000. It's very smart to get 2-year pledges. And just think how much time that that saves. Get 2-year pledges. It's not difficult to do at all.
I think someone was asking if you have any tips on getting a major gift program started. That's a big question. A great one,
yeah.
But any short-term, I guess, short tips that you have for them?
Yeah, well, I bet that you could put on the back of a napkin 20 major players who could make or break your organization's financial future. And if you can't get together with somebody else, and come up with a list of 20, okay? And then take a look at their giving history and sort of do your internal research about what do you know about them, and then do some discovery. Call them up and say, I'd love to know how you came to choose our organization. You've been a donor all these years. We've never asked you. Again, being charming about it. So start small. And everybody asks me, how many prospects can I adequately handle? And it depends on your other job responsibilities. You're going to be more productive if you have a very small number. And people in our major gift intensive have found that instead of 60 prospects, they end up focusing on 20. And you can make a capital campaign with 20 prospects if you know what you're doing. 20 donors.
Yeah, sometimes we look at the whole and don't start because we're afraid. Where I love the 20, the back of the napkin.
Yeah, it's very doable. And see, people are so afraid of the idea of major gifts, but if you think about it in terms of discovery and finding out all this information from your donors, it feels so natural and it feels polite and it doesn't feel pushy. Cynthia's asking, do I recommend partnering with other nonprofits to go after some major donors? You know, some of the foundations really love a consortium going together. I think it's difficult, but if that's the only way you can get an audience, I would sure partner. Good question. Good question.
Absolutely.
Jesse likes giving as an emotional act, says they're going to print it out and tape it on their laptop.
Yeah.
I do want to add a note of encouragement about estates and estate planning and planned giving. A couple of thoughts. The donors don't really know the words planned giving, you know, so if you have a place on your website called planned giving, they're going, what? So you really just need to say planning your will, or are we in your will? Click here for more information. So planned giving is really great in this environment. And it's really just a series of communications. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just have it, remind your donors over and over and over.
Well, Gail, unfortunately, we're at time. I'm sure we can keep you for another 20, 30 couple hours. There's a lot more questions coming in. What we'll try to do is surface some of those back over to you and your team, Gail, so that you all can address those independently or use them to help and just encourage others through that. Grateful for the time. Megan is going to be putting together a summary of today's call and actually sending that out to all of you so that you can recoup all of these learnings that we shared today on the call. Gail, so grateful for the time.
Oh no, it's so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoons.
Bye.